Hi guys, this is OBOM coming to you again. Today this video I'm going to be talking to you about what I believe is the greatest kept secret, or what I'm going to call the biggest reveal of the century, the last 100 years or so. And in fact, it's been out there. So most secrets are better kept under top secret documents. But I would say the biggest secret you can keep, if you want to keep a secret from the world, you can put it into a book. So today I really want to share with you guys the importance of not just reading, but the importance of developing yourself, right? In most industries, it's called personal development. So the development of oneself, or more so the development of your mind. So a couple books I'm going to share with you guys. You can see I have a few books here. These are some of my favorite books. Now, don't laugh too much because they're all beat up. The important thing about those books is because they are beat up. Those are my favorite books that I study over and over and over because I want to master those books. See, because the path to success in any endeavor is covered in mastery, and your success is really found in your daily routines. So what I'm going to share with you here is just a little bit of a philosophy that I want you to kind of get and understand, and the secret here to be revealed to you real shortly. And I think by the end of this video, you'll see it. And my challenge to you is to do this. So, for example, think of yourself in the last 5 years, okay? So today marks a day that maybe 5 years ago, whether you set a goal or not, where you want to be 5 years from now, and if you haven't, you should have, and if you haven't, today should be that day you set a goal 5 years from now, you can start. And I can actually share with you in a little secret how you can get to that goal, right? So first I want to start with one of my most favorite books, is the Bible, right? The Bible itself is not just one book. The Bible itself, right? B-I-B-L-E, basic instructions before leaving earth. I think if you were born and sometime you're going to die, the basic instructions before leaving earth, you probably should read it, right? In this book alone, but I think every book on earth derives from the Bible in some way, shape, or form. And within the Bible is 66 books in there. The first half called the Old Testament, and the new half the New Testament, talking about all kinds of amazing books and stories to help you live and change your life. But this is the one that gives you spiritual transcendence. So for me, if you're a Christian, right? There's Christianity, there's several other books out there on your faith. But if you want to improve your faith, you probably might want to read the Bible. If you're Christian, if you're Buddhist, read the books according so with all other religions, right? So what's most amazing, one of my favorite books called The Slight Edge, right? This book talks about, this is one of my favorites, right? It's one of the old ones, actually. That's why it's so beat up. My favorite. I read this book at least 2 or 3 times a year now, and I have all the new revisions of it. But it says it's The Secret to a Successful Life by Jeff Olson, right? And I'll get back to this book at the end some more. But if you want to learn the secret to a successful life, or just have a successful life, the title alone should be one of those things that'll get you. But this book, The Slight Edge, it talks basically about how you can change your philosophy. And the author defines in here really the definition of what he calls your philosophy. Your philosophy is what you know, how you hold it, right? Basically what it does for you and how it affects what you do in life. So your philosophy is very important, right? So when I wanted to start to become successful, I wanted to get the slight edge in life over the average person. Here's the deal. Like I said before, the best way to keep a secret is to put it into a book. Now, your mind works best like a parachute, best when open, right? So you got to be open-minded going into this as you're looking at it. One of my other favorites by the 2 good authors, David Bird and Mark Smith, called Achievement. If you want to learn how to achieve in life, this book is called Achievements, a proven system to next level growth. So here's one of the other things I want to share with you. So in between the time you're born and the time you die, in that whole blank space right there is called a process, right? And how you work on your process and develop your process and develop your mind, your mental mind frame, or your philosophy or your spirituality, it'll help you get through life very successfully. So there's that point, and some of you probably already know my story. If you don't, here's the thing. I was broke, homeless, busted, disgusted, living out of my car for 5 years. And within that time, I started reading. And Let me say this in the easiest way I can. This is a very simple book. It has, let me see how many pages in this book, 128 pages, right? If you read simply 10 pages of a good book a day, then at the end of a month, you could read a book that's averaging about 310 pages or so, right? So you can read this book and probably this one in a month, right? I have 12 books here plus the Bible, so you can go through those over and over and over, developing your mind. So when I wanted to learn about love, it's amazing. I have an amazing marriage and relationship. What do I read? What do I read? The 5 love languages. This one talked about how to express heartfelt commitment to your mate. Trust me, guys, my wife's the happiest woman in the world, but I wasn't born a genius, okay? I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but I'm in the shed. I'm sharpening my tool, right, through books, right? The development of your mind is very key and very important. So here's what I want to share with you also. Now, I'm a very intelligent guy, and there's a huge difference between being smart or intelligent, so getting an education and being personally developed. Right? I have a master's in business, my doctorate is in medicine, and a PhD in human behavior and psychology. So I'm scholastically trained very well. But to all those things happen and still have failure, my mind wasn't developed, not personally into the attributes or the subjects and studies that I wanted to be developed more into. That was just a discipline. But here's what's really amazing. When I got injured in Iraq, I got blown up. I was in my head constantly. Had PTSD and suffering from stress quite heavily. I was actually suicide ideation for about 2 years, trying to kill myself for a while. And then I read this book by Joyce Meyer called Battlefield of the Mind. It talks about winning the battle in your mind, which is what helped me get out of my mind to really understand what was going on. And one of the things that got me, it said 2 million copies sold. And I was like, wow, then a lot of people must be buying that book. It's got to be great, right? But the book that really, in the beginning, it ticked me off, and at the same time, it's one of my favorite books, is this one here, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, by Robert Kiyosaki. And he says, this is the book that basically actually, here's what it says. What rich people teach their kids about money that poor and middle class don't. That's probably important. You might want to read for yourself. Then I got involved in network marketing. And I wanted to be good in network marketing. One of the gentlemen who'd been in network marketing and did very well in it wrote this book. His name is Eric Worre, called Go Pro. Imagine that. It says 7 steps to becoming a network marketing professional. So, of course, like in the military, I went to military academies, read the military books, learned about leadership and all those things to be a professional there in the military. Had a great time. In network marketing, to be a professional, you got to read the professional books. You got to develop your mind, right? And then, of course, I was a recluse. So I wasn't making friends. Read a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Amazing how that is. And then I wanted to get rich. Guess what I read? This one by Napoleon Hill called Think and Grow Rich, right? Starts to help you to learn to think and understand what wealthy people do. And I understood at that time in my car, I was not the sharpest tool in the shed. But I read John Maxwell's book that I reread at least once a year, right, called Failing Forward. It's basically talking about turning all your mistakes into success. Duh, right? So I didn't become a success overnight, guys. It wasn't quantum leap. There's no such thing as quantum leap. One of the things I learned in The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson was you just literally have to show up consistently with a good attitude over a long period of time with desire and faith. Be willing to pay the price. For me, it was paying the price by developing my mind with these books over and over and over again to get the result that I have today. So my wealth didn't come automatically. It came over time, right? Then I read the 21 laws of irrefutable, or 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. I'm reading it backwards, right? So 21 laws that talks about leadership. And John Maxwell wrote this book, and he says, if you follow them, people will follow you. And what's so funny between the 21 laws of, or 21 irrefutable laws of leadership and How to Win Friends and Influence People, one of the things Maxwell says in here is leadership is basically nothing more than influence, right? So after reading all these books, here's one of the things I realized. What you become, you are basically the combined average of the books you read and the people you associate yourself with. So basically, if you're hanging around 9 broke people, guess what? You're the 10th. If you're hanging around 9 people that smoke, eventually you will be. If you hang around 9 people that are wealthy and you keep doing what they're doing and you showing up consistently, eventually your account will start to look like theirs. So after all of that, one of the books I want to share with you is actually my book, right? The Philosophy of Success. So after I learned all those things, like in these couple books, here, I'll give you guys an example. I'm actually really excited about these 2 books, right? So because of these 2 books, in a sense, was one of the reasons why I got to write my book, The Philosophy of Success. Remember, Jeff said your philosophy is what you know, how you hold it, and how it affects what you do. So my book is how to basically think to be successful. But I hung around Jeff Olson. I hung around David Bird. I hung around Mark Smith about 3.5 years ago. And when I got involved in network marketing, I had the opportunity to spend time with them. So they became my environment and my association. And eventually, what do you know? I became an author, just like them, right? That proves that to rewrite. So if you're in a place right now where you don't want to be, start connecting, hanging around with the people that have the life or the lifestyle that you want. If you're married and you want to have a successful marriage, start hanging around with people who are having successful marriages. Learn, and you'll see it's not a magic secret. It's no secret. The people who have successful marriages are putting in more work than the average person that don't. They're doing marriage retreats, they're reading, they're spending time, they're doing all kinds of stuff together. The folks that have a successful life, they are putting good things into their mind. So just remember this. The greatest secret in the world, 99% of them are kept in books. You have to read the books. And here's the deal. You don't just read the book. And I want to plead with you to understand this. Don't read a book. Here's what reading a book is. I read the book, I put it down. You might learn something. And a genius learns 10% of anything they read. So if a genius read my book, he'll only get 10% of it. So that means he'll have to read it at least 10 times to get the information, right? Or the same with like the 5 love languages. That's why my wife and I read it at least 2 or 3 times a year, right? So if you read it once, if a genius reads it once and gets 10%, then we need to read the same book 100 times to get the same information. That's why these books are so beat up, and I read it over and 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 over. I know I sound like a broken record, but that's what you got to do, right? So all you have to understand is this. The difference between reading and developing your mind is that if you read the book once and you put it down, it's like taking a shower once a year and saying you're done. You don't want to be the funky guy around everybody else. So all you have to do is unfunkify your mind by reading the books repeatedly. That'll help you get to where you want. So these are some of my favorite books. There's at least about 30 of them. But these are some of the ones that really make a significant change in my life. And I'll wrap the video up with this, guys. Remember, the mind is like a parachute. And here's what you have to know. Whatever you want, you can attain it in about 5 years. Let's say you just want love, true love.